So, why should you invest in a halal way? Hi, this is Afiq, Chief Finance Ninja at First Refinance. I've helped hundreds of families get onto the path of financial independence through halal investing. And in today's video, I'll talk about the big why behind halal investing. There are two main reasons why you want to invest in a halal way. Of course, number one is the obvious one: religious beliefs. We have certain requirements when it comes to things we consume, from our food to, of course, our investments. Just like how we avoid haram products like pork, alcohol, and such, it's the same thing when it comes to our investments. Number one, we want to avoid riba. Riba, or usury, is the Islamic concept of interest. And so you want to be able to avoid riba in everything you do, from your day-to-day banking transactions to, of course, your more exotic investment products. It is stated in the Quran that beware of war from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet, peace be upon him, when you engage in riba. In addition to riba, we also want to avoid haram industries. Things like gambling, things like alcohol, tobacco, even things like weapons. And so we want to avoid these haram or prohibited industries when it comes to our investing due to our religious beliefs. Things to avoid in our investments are, of course, something called gharar, which is uncertainty, and maysir, which is gambling. And so these two things have been prohibited to us as Muslims. So naturally, a lot of investment products out there have been, well, restricted to us. Things like futures and options. So tell me in the comments below the challenges that you face when it comes to halal investing. I promise I'll reply to every comment, even though it might take me a while. I'm still quite new at doing this. The second reason why you should invest in a halal way is, of course, number one, stability, and number two, performance. Let's talk about stability for a bit. So if you've read the news in anywhere within the past 10 to 15 years, you've heard of something called the global financial crisis of 2008. If you want more information, you can just Google the great GFC of 2008 or the Lehman Brothers crisis, and you'll find out a lot more. But here is the best part about investing halal. When you take an Islamic or halal portfolio and you compare it to the performance of the overall market in 2008, the halal portfolios did not drop as much as the other portfolios. Now, why is that? If you look at a halal portfolio, one of the most important requirements for a business or a stock to be considered halal is that it must not have excessive leverage. In other words, it cannot be borrowing way too much money. And so when a stock has less than 33% leverage or gearing is one of the factors to consider if it's permissible or halal. And if you know anything about the 2008 global financial crisis, it was really driven by a lot of the banks. And so a halal portfolio during that time did not drop as much as a conventional portfolio. In fact, it did a lot better. And that brings me to my second point: performance. Now, naturally, a halal portfolio starts to avoid a lot of these forbidden industries that we're not allowed to partake in. Things like alcohol, tobacco, banking, and finance, because of riba, tend to be avoided or excluded from a halal portfolio. And so when there are big shocks to the market, a lot of the times, the stocks that make up a halal portfolio actually perform a lot better. Some of you out there might have heard people say that, oh, halal investing doesn't do as well. You can't make as much money as you can in a conventional portfolio. Now, while that may necessarily be true, simply because a conventional portfolio is allowed to do leveraging or borrowing a lot of money, a halal portfolio still makes money. That's the key. If you think that if I put $1 into a conventional portfolio and I make 100% return, the halal portfolio, while not returning 100% return, returns you maybe 70 or 80%. which is still fantastic considering number one, you're making your money grow, and number two, you're doing it in a halal manner. And so this is a quick primer on why halal investing actually works. We've got plenty of material for you, and again, we want to do this just for our community. Like, comment below, and of course subscribe to our channel for more updates and more videos.